first language was music. My mother was an opera singer, my father sang musical theater, and singing was the first sound that I ever heard in the womb. Music was my first experience of life. And it was my dream to become like George Gershwin or Leonard Bernstein. They were composer-performers who wrote musicals, they wrote concertos, and they reinvented classic musical forms. When I was 7, I got 2 fabulous presents for my birthday. I got a bicycle and I got a ukulele. And these 2 things gave me freedom. The bicycle gave me freedom to go anywhere I wanted to, and the ukulele gave me the freedom to play whatever I wanted to play. And after that, movement and music were the foundations of my life. So everyone assumed I would want to have music lessons. So they tried piano lessons, didn't like those. They tried guitar lessons, didn't like those. Then they started to get exotic. They tried harp lessons, didn't like those. And at that point, they realized I didn't like lessons. I just wanted to play. So I never learned to read or write music, but music was my life. It was my form of communication. So if you don't mind, I'd like to speak in my first language. Because when I sing, I can express myself more clearly. And if I forget what I'm saying, I can play a little riff. That's one of the great things about having an instrument strapped to you. When I was 19, I started writing a musical, but of course I couldn't write, like I told you. So I went to college to learn to read and write music. And in this college they had a harp, but they had no harpist. I had 6 lessons. I got the job. I still couldn't read and write music, but I could fake music, and as it turns out, that's an incredible skill to have as a musician. It's just one step away from jazz. So I bought a used concert harp. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a concert harp, but it is humongous. It is 6 feet tall. It weighs 80 pounds. It has 7 foot pedals. It has 47 strings. It's like a piece of furniture that you can't sit on. And then they told me to go to the place where the harpist goes, at the back of the orchestra. And I thought, that is not what I had in mind. So I asked my boyfriend, who was a jazz aficionado, I said, do you think I could play jazz on the harp? And he said, no, I don't think so. So I got another boyfriend. He was a jazz bass player, and he taught me how to play jazz. And I said, oh, I'm a jazz harp player. I told everybody I'm a jazz harp player. I sent out press releases saying I'm a jazz harp player. And one day, CBS News called me up and they said, hey, we heard that you're a jazz harp player because you sent us 500 press releases. Would you like to come on the news and play jazz? And I said, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, but who watches news to see music? But sure. And 5 days later, I got a call from the president of a jazz record player, yeah, right, a jazz record company. And he said, hey, I saw you on the news. Do you want to come to New York City and make records? And I'm living the life. I'm making records. I'm doing photo shoots. I'm traveling the world. And it's perfect except for one thing. The harp. It's humongous. The harp is humongous. The case is like a casket. You can't even get it on some planes, and they make you wait to take another plane. And I'm thinking, this is not what I had in mind. And then I remembered something else I got as a kid. It was a book, a picture book of ancient Egypt. And it had a centerfold with these beautiful women strolling across the page, and they were all wearing harps. And I thought, well, if they could do it, why can't I? Why can't I shrink it down, strap it on, and plug it in? And I had this vision. I thought, my big concert harp, what if my big concert harp fell in love with an electric guitar? They had a child. I want that child. So I told every harp builder that I knew, I described this thing, and they tried to build it based on my description, and they made all these little monsters that were nothing like what I had in mind. So I made my own prototype. I took a little lap harp, and I covered it with red and silver flecked contact paper till it looked like a Stratocaster. And then I took it to France, to Joël Garnier, the world's most visionary harp builder. And I said, Joël, this is what I'm talking about. And he said, Deborah, now I understand what you want. And 6 months later, he handed me his prototype. It was 3 feet tall. It weighed 18 pounds. It had 30 strings, and it was electric. It was perfect, except I had to hold it like this, so I could only play with one hand. So I went to the guitar shop, and I tried a guitar strap. That didn't work. I went to the marching band store, and I tried a snare drum harness. That didn't work. So I went to a clown. I went to a physical comedian, and he said, okay, so here's the thing. We got to forget that it's a harp. Imagine it's a prop. Imagine it's a prosthetic. Imagine you are a centaur, and this is part of you. And so we made a harness with a strap from the left, a strap from the right, a strap over the top, and suddenly, I'm playing the harp of the future. Everybody's gonna wanna play this harp. And I say, come on, everybody, come on. And they're just watching. So I keep playing. I write concertos. I write suites. I've learned how to write music. I'm singing and dancing with this harp. I'm traveling around the world, and the harp is going as a luggage. I'm writing one-woman shows where it makes perfect sense for the heroine to be wearing a harp. Like in the waiting room for heaven. And it's perfect. Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect for me. But not so perfect for the harp company, because nobody else is buying it. So Joël passes the project on to his protege, Jacques, and Jacques starts to improve the harp. And every improvement that he makes it a little bit heavier. Starts at 18 pounds, then it goes up to 20, 22, 23. It's 25 pounds, and I can't move. And he said, Deborah, we love to make this harp for you, but nobody is buying. We cannot invest more. And I think, no, this can't be the end. No, we have to forget that it's a harp. I mean, what is it really at its essence? It's a frame with strings that resonate. It's a way for your fingers to sing, but it has to be strong and it has to be light. Like a bike. And I say, Jacques, look at the harp. Look at the frame of the harp. It's just like the frame of a bike. The bike has wheels, the harp has strings, but in essence, it's the same thing. You're in France, go to the racing bike people. And 6 months later, he hands me his prototype. It's 11 pounds. It's got 32 strings. It's made of carbon fiber like a racing bike. And it's called the DHC. And suddenly, harpists around the world are buying this instrument. There's a 6-month waiting list. They're buying it in all these different colors. They're having it detailed like motorcycles. And I go to Jacques and I say, wow, this was my idea. That made all the difference, right? And he says, not exactly. He says, it is not just the design. He said, Deborah, you have been playing this harp now for 20 years. A generation. Little children, they saw you on album covers, on posters, on TV, and they thought, oh, that is Deborah. But now they are grown, and they are thinking, that could be me. For 20 years, I struggled to recapture the freedom that I had felt as a child with a bicycle and a ukulele. But I had to keep reaching for that because I knew that that's what it must feel like, that it should feel like, that it had to feel like to play music. And I was so lucky to connect with these visionaries who believed in my vision because they made it a reality, but not just for me. Together, we put my dream into the hands of a whole new generation. Thank you.